Hey, you are watching the MTG Thoughtcast. This week's episode is the Tarkir Dragonstorm Precon Reviews, which is obviously a lot of them. There's 5 total. What you've just clicked on is one of our 5 individual videos. If you want to watch the whole thing unedited, all the banter, all the good stuff, you can click on the link somewhere else here on the screen. Otherwise, please enjoy the video you just clicked on.
All right, ladies and gents, here we go with the Temur Roar. This is your green, blue, and red precon, and the main focus of this one, as most Temur decks tend to be, is just going to be heavy hit battle cruiser, but especially because we are on the land of Tarkir, this is a dragons deck.
Yeah, baby.
We needed one of them to be a Dragon Kindred deck, and who better than basically the iconic dragon colors, right? So we've got ourselves Eshki, Temur's Roar, namesake card from the precon Temur Roar. Thank you for coming.
Roll the credits.
Green, blue, red, legendary human warrior is a 2/2. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. If the spell's power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals damage equal to her power to each opponent.
Yikes.
Yeah, so you always, no matter what creature spell you're casting, Eshki will get bigger as you cast those creature spells. As you cast things with power 4, you're going to be refilling. And as they are larger than that at 6, she will be flinging her own damage at each of your opponents.
Yeah, and the things previous to it as well. You still get the counter, you still get the draw, and you get the deal damage to opponents.
Exactly. And like what you were sort of describing with the toughness matter stuff when we talked about the Abzan deck, there are very few creatures in this deck that are not at least 4 power. Most of them are 5 or higher, as dragons tend to be.
Truly.
One of those said but gigantic dragons is your alternate commander of this deck, Ureni, of the Unwritten, excuse me. 4 and Temur, legendary spirit dragon. It's a 7/7. Flying trample, and when Ureni enters or attacks, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon creature card from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest to the bottom of your library in a random order.
Onto the battlefield?
Onto the battlefield.
It doesn't even care that you cast it.
Nope, just when it enters or attacks, just like a Titan.
This is Dragon Titan?
Dragon
Dude,
Titan.
I did not catch that on my first read. That's ridiculous.
So, I mean, obviously, like, as this deck is built to be, most all your creatures in this deck are going to be dragons. But if you were to take Ureni as is, very clearly, it wants you to play dragons.
Dang, dude,
again,
imagine dragons.
Imagine these dragons. Exactly. That's why it's a spirit dragon. Hey.
Right. This is Imagine Dragon.
Yeah. So it's the only weird part about this Ureni is that the putting dragons down into play does not trigger Eshki at all. So very similar that these ones, they are fine together in the same deck, but are not synergistic really together per se.
Right.
But you're playing the big dumb battle cruiser, you're not really going to be looking for synergy anyways. Your gameplay strategy is, I'm putting the biggest boy into play, he's going sideways.
Absolutely. I think if you're complaining because you have both your commanders out and you're just getting a free dragon every turn with Ureni, I think you're probably going to still win the game. Oh no, you didn't get your card draw and counter and like Warstorm Surge for the table, but you get free dragons.
Speaking of free dragons, let's talk about one of the new cards, Broodcaller's Scourge. It is 5 and double green for a 5/7 dragon with flying that whenever one or more dragons you control deal combat damage to a player, you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that damage from your hand onto the battlefield.
This is ridiculous.
Anybody reading Dragon off of that? Because that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, this is crack, dude.
It's so good. And the fact that this comes down and is able to immediately start triggering itself off of your previous dragons, like, it's one of those that it has an attack trigger that doesn't need to attack itself.
Oh, shoot. 1 or more dragons you control.
Yep. Also works if you're hitting multiple opponents because each player will be their own,
Dumb. Dumb.
Dumb. Hey, do you need to get other pesky flyers out of your way? Play Hammerhead Tyrant. 4 and double blue for a 6/6 dragon with flying. Whenever you cast a spell, return up to 1 target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to that spell's mana value to its owner's hand.
Wizards, what the fuck, dude? You're just gonna give a Hullbreaker horror on a dragon?
Welcome back, Tidespout Tyrant. We missed you.
Insane behavior.
No, it's great, right? Because like one of the flying dragons, one of their problems could be is that if you don't have the trample keyword on there, you just get chump blocked by stuff like birds and spirits and inklings and stuff like that, right? So being able to remove other pesky flyers out of your way just for simply playing the game is amazing.
Very, very sick.
And then one more really fun card that I just like in here is called Become the Avalanche. 4 and double green for a sorcery. Draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. Then creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand.
Oh, it's Shamanic Revelation.
Yes, Shamanic Revelation for 1 more mana that as after you have drawn those cards into your hand, it's going to count those plus anything that was in your hand previously.
Sick. This is tight.
Yeah, which as a reminder, Eshki draws you cards as you cast spells, I think,
if
you have creatures with power 4 or greater.
I'll tell you that my Slime Against Humanity deck wants this.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Big fan of that. So you will notice real quick, we were talking about this, like this is a Dragons themed deck, and I've tried to pull as many of the new cards that I did that are not red because most of this deck is red.
This is a sneaky mono red deck.
It is. I mean, it is cool that you've got green and blue mostly just as kind of like support, but as traditional old school dragon decks tend to be, your biggest, greatest hits of dragons are going to be in red, you know? Right. And that's going to be stuff like Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, you know, another, we were talking about the Spirit Dragons before. This is just amazing card advantage value of being able to give you some impulse draw or extra mana if it were to die. Hellkite Courser is another very fun dragon. It allows you to get your commander down into play for a turn and then sends it back to the command zone.
Stupid.
It's very cool. Do Hellkite Courser, you get, let's say if you're playing Uremi as your commander, you get
I was going to say,
Courser,
that's
Uremi.
significantly stronger than the face commander with the Hellkite Courser.
This deck, more than any, I feel like is a much better helmed by the alternate commander, but Eshki is also just as cool. Like both of them
I disagree with you because a deck that already has so many 6 and 7 drops in it, you don't need another one in the command zone. What you do need is an enabler in the command zone that's going to draw you cards, that's going to deal extra damage, it's going to get that damage in early. So I actually say stick with Eshki, but like do what you want.
You could do both, honestly. Both are super cool.
Yeah. Just try them out both.
Nesting Dragon is a sweet dragon. Landfall makes you dragon eggs that turn into more dragons. We love seeing that. There's a very interesting reprint that came out of one of the Game Night box kits called Nagi Draco Zealot. It's one of these like dragon cost reducers that can then start swinging in as a dragon when you have dragons.
Sick.
That was a very notable one. It was getting kind of high up there in cost as well. To keep the card draw coming, you've got stuff like Elemental Bond and Temur Ascendancy as well.
Yeah,
so
dude.
Both of these are going to keep drawing you cards as you have creatures with power 3 or 4 come into play. Very fun, very fun. But again, just kind of as it reads, this is a Dragons deck. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how this works. You play your land.
Yeah, man.
You play your dragons, they go sideways.
I love this.
Being in the Temur colors, you probably, obviously, if anybody knows any experience with dragon decks, you are probably wondering, where's Miram? Not in here. But please include Miram if you feel up to. I was just bringing it up as an honorable mention because in the conversely of that, though, Miram does have quite a bad rep behind her as well. So like if Miram is in your command zone, especially you will be targeted very heavily.
Yeah, don't put Miram in the command zone, but it's really good in the 99. It's probably the best dragon in the 99 if you throw it in there.
Absolutely. Miram is fantastic. Another sick upgrade piece I saw was Dragonborn Champion. The very fun little guy. He allows you to get extra card draw off of sources of yours that deal 5 or more damage. And
nice.
As most of these dragons are 5 power and higher, every single one of them that connects is going to start drawing you cards. And same with Eshki as well. The Dragonborn Champion just says when a source deals 5 or more damage. So if Eshki is at a point where she is flinging her damage at each opponent for the 5+, a Dragonborn Champion will be drawing you some cards.
Sick. That's a really good include.
I'm a big fan of that. I found a very interesting idea, as we were talking about with Uremi being sort of Titan-like. You could do a very subtle, like a blink theme with Uremi to be able to get extra creatures coming in super, super fast.
I'm listening.
The most synergistic one I found is Essence Flux. It's a single blue that takes a creature, exiles it, and re-enters it into play.
It's a spirit dragon.
It's a spirit. It's a spirit.
We got there, boys. Yes.
That's with Ureni at the helm, though. This doesn't really help with Eshki too terribly much. But this is what I was going here with this upgrade list. Is that like I was saying, more so than some of the other ones, this is the deck that could be very interchangeable with the main commander and the alternate commander if you really want to. They don't play super well together, but your deck will still function no matter which one you have at the helm of the command zone. So a little bit of extra blink for Ureni would be super, super cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Just last real quick one that I found here is Sarkhan's Triumph. This is literally just a dragon tutor card. It's like it's a 2 and a red sorcery. Search your library for a dragon, put it into your hand.
Tight.
Now all your dragons can be toolboxy. So if you draw that, whatever dragon is most appropriate for you at the time, you just go and grab it right out of the deck, and you can get going from there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Especially if you're playing Eshki as your commander, right? Play Eshki, play Sarkhan's Triumph, go grab Ureni. Now the two of them together are doing their thing.
I dig it, man. That's awesome. What a cool deck. This is probably the strongest of the 5. It's either this or the Sultai one for sure.
This can certainly feel like the most strongest, but that was almost English.
Nice.
I'm going to scale this like a 4 on the scale for this because like
it's kind of boring.
Yes, I mean here's the thing, like you had to have a dragon deck when we're talking about the Tarkir clans, and one of these decks was going to have to be Dragon Kindred mostly. And I mean, could they have made the Temur deck kind of focused on its sort of like its main set mechanics with like the Harmonize and being able to have other just power matters style cards without being dragons? It could have, but they took the opportunity to make this the Dragon Kindred theme, which is very, very cool. There are a fantastic suite of both new and reprint dragons that you would naturally put into a Dragons deck, but it's a Kindred deck, right? Take that as it is. Kindred style, especially dragons, one of the most iconic creature types of the game. It can be a little boring sometimes.
Definitely.
You're going to do the big power thing. You're going to go smashing, and it's going to be a good time. I as a fan, this is hear me here. This is as a fan of someone who enjoys doing battle cruisery. You know, if you're looking for complex depth of gameplay, this is not going to be it for you.
Look to the walls deck.
Look to the walls.
Yeah.
But
seek walls.
But the opposite end of that as well. If you are getting into the game probably for the first time. If you're looking to show somebody the power of especially a Kindred theme or a battle cruiser or playing more than like 2 colors, especially as well, right? I have learned from experience recently that teaching somebody at above 3+ colors can be quite tough. You know,
right.
You have to start figuring out your intricacies of like what mana you need when and which ones to use for what kinds of spells. So this deck, being a Temur mono red, for lack of a better term, would be a fantastic introductory deck to bring somebody new into the game with.